All right, hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me. I've got another interview for you today with a good friend of mine, Jeremy. Say hello to everybody out there.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
All right, thanks for tuning in. Jeremy is an aviation instructor, and we're going to talk a little bit about his career and all sorts of stuff as that relates to aviation. But before we get started, if you like what you're hearing and seeing, please go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe, leave comments down below. Just helps me keep this channel moving forward, as you know. So thank you very much if you've done so already. As I said in the last interview, I've had this big realization. There's a lot of different interests that come onto the channel and watch, and I'm just continuing to seek to expose you guys and girls out there to just different avenues or options of ways that if flying isn't your thing, it's certainly not. It's not for everybody. There's a whole wealth of other options that you have if you want to be a part of the industry, and that's a little bit what we're going to talk about today. So with that being said, Jeremy, I'm just going to start with your interview here and asking you some questions. We'll just have a casual talk about the subject matter here. So the first question I have for you is, can you tell us about your aviation interests in general and just how they get started?
Yeah, well, it started from a very early age. My father was a pilot, and my grandfather, he worked for Northrop Grumman in wage administration, so on the business side of aviation. So from a very early age, I was exposed to airplanes. I had model airplanes. We went out to air shows.
Okay.
And in addition to that, it just really captured my imagination with movies like Top Gun and that sort of thing.
Of course. Yeah. So it sounds like what you're outlining here is certainly a common thing that I think a lot of us share, is that, like, yeah, you were a little kid, being interested, so, I mean, do you even remember an age when you could pinpoint to say,
Yeah, I had my first model airplane when I was 4 years old. Okay. And I laid out the instructions on a table, and I just remember being so excited and then following it step by step. And then I was so young I couldn't paint, but then my dad did some of the camouflage for me, and I thought that was the coolest thing.
Okay, very cool. Well, and that's like such a neat thing, I think, for a lot of folks that are in this type of career track, is that, it's not that often, I feel like, that a lot of folks like have a passion very early in their lives and they're able to like continue with it their whole lives and evolve it into a career and get to do things they love. So that is a cool thing. It's neat to hear that you share that as well. So the second question I have for you is, did you ever consider flying professionally? And if so, can you describe the evolution of, let's say the changing of the thought track, or just like, you went down a different path? I mean, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, I'm glad you're doing this channel and that you're opening other career fields, because I also had that same mindset that I want to fly. And I mentioned Top Gun before, so I wanted to go into the military and fly fighter jets. Along the way, that didn't work out. I was colorblind. Mm-hmm. And then in college, this is a little personal, but I had major depression in college, and I ended up taking antidepressants, which allowed me not to fly anymore.
Okay.
So that was a very difficult struggle for me, because, flying, the excitement of it appealed to me. But then, and then that's how I chose the maintenance track.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's interesting, and I'm glad that going through something like that in your life did not derail you essentially from being a part of the aviation industry. And it's cool that you were able to find another place that was a good or better fit for you, maybe. And I think that's a lot of things that I've had peers that have struggled with this same type of thing, because they start out, they begin their flight training, and granted, their stories might be a little bit different, but whatever the case is, as something like this happens in your life, it can be kind of hard, because you almost like lose yourself. You have this thought like, I had all my life figured out, and now I'm not going to do this. So that's kind of a hard thing to go through, right? And that sounds like something a little bit about what you dealt with, right?
Yeah, and along the way, it just really caused me to, I had to search again, well, what do I really want to do? So I had this degree in maintenance. I graduated from San Jose State University. with a bachelor's in aviation maintenance. I had this maintenance certificate. I was working at the airport at the time while we worked together. And it was just a really good environment to have. I had a good group of friends at that time, and it opened me working at that FBO. It opened me to other options within the aviation. Yeah.
Now, how about you're an instructor, so you're a teacher at a college in New Mexico, there where you live. Tell us a little bit about the evolution of your passion for teaching. Where did that begin, or how did you maybe arrive at that one?
Well, I was teaching on Beech 1900 aircraft. It's a twin-engine turboprop, and I got to a point. At first, I struggled coming into maintenance. I was acquainted with tools and working with my hands to some extent, but I wasn't a gearhead.
Okay.
And as a new mechanic, I was in this environment where it was high pressure and a lot of deadlines.
Okay.
But then I struggled the first few years, but then I got the hang of it and I really liked it. But then I was thinking, there's got to be, I feel like I want to teach, but I don't want to go back to school.
Yeah.
And my brother, he went to the A&P school here, Central New Mexico Community College in Albuquerque, and he got me in touch with the head instructor, and then we just started talking, and then one thing led to another, and next thing I knew, I was standing in front of a class without any teaching experience and had to give a 4-hour lecture.
Okay. Well, that's another cool part that dovetails nicely into the next question I have for you, because you basically, so you're on the the pilot track, and then you were on like the maintenance, like you were gonna be a full on like just straight professional mechanic for a period of time, and then you jumped another track to into the world of instructing. So that's pretty cool. And like I said, this is more or less the next question that I have for you. So like somebody that's watching this video and they're, let's say, in high school, and they're like, I want to teach aviation someday. What is like the track way, or like how would somebody go about doing that, or essentially getting to where you're at right now?
Well, it depends what they want to teach. For example, they could be a flight instructor. That's one avenue. They could teach at a university, whether it be airport management or operations. But I could speak specifically to my experience. I teach students for the airframe and power plant license as mechanics. So I prepare them to take the written and the oral and practical exams with the FAA. So if someone's interested in teaching maintenance, you want to have experience in the field. I would specifically recommend, because teaching maintenance is such a broad scope of subject areas, I'd recommend working at an FBO so you get exposed to smaller aircraft, and then larger aircraft you get exposed to propellers and jet planes too. And then do that for 5 years at least, and then you could get picked up if you have a degree, especially a 4-year degree. Mm-hmm. You could get picked up by either a university or a community college.
This made me think of another question. I mean, I think a lot of other subject matter, folks that are going into different lines of teaching, maybe some of those jobs are a little more difficult because it's a little more competitive. But would you say in the aviation space, are those teaching jobs a little bit harder to come by, or do you feel like there's not a lot of folks that are maybe doing that concentration, so it's an easier thing? Is it a harder thing?
I was very lucky. I got into this career field young, because there wasn't a big pool, like you're saying. So, for example, at my community college, when I got hired, we had the largest hiring class that year, and there's 40 some odd full-time instructors that were hired at one time. Some of the English teachers had been teaching part-time for 10 years in order to get that position, whereas I only had to teach part-time for 1 year. I had the experience, I had the degree, and there was a small pool that were competing for the same position, and I was in. So if you want to do this, it's so specialized. There's always a need for good instructors.
Yeah. Excellent. Very cool. Let's say next question I have for you is if there was one piece of advice that you could give to somebody that wants to go down this career track, what would that be?
Just do what you like. Do what you enjoy, and go for it. Yeah. And you'll meet plenty of people. If you have a passion for this and you're persistent, you'll meet plenty of people along the way who will be more than happy to help you.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So based just like a general follow your passion kind of thing, right? That's your story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's cliche, but in a way, it's true.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think one thing I've witnessed in my life is you see a lot of peers going off and doing different things, and oftentimes people, strangely enough, do not follow their passions, and I think they just go into like any job just for the sake of having an income or just like what they think is going to be a, maybe just a financially stable or any number of things that lead them to other pathways in life. But I think there's so much to be said about those folks that really do stick it out, and like if you really do have a love for something and a passion for it, there's tremendous payoff, I think, in value in following that. And it's just, I think it's kind of a special thing that, you don't hear this type of story every day, right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm glad you're doing this channel. So a young person who's thinking about this as a career field, they could really sort of search out and see what they would like and see what grabs their interest.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. Well, the last question I have for you, Jeremy, is what do you love most about your job right now?
It's helping the students. So when they graduate, I give them their dream sheet. And what their dream sheet is on the first day when they come into class, I ask them how they hear about our program and what do they want to do in aviation. So they're coming here because they want to improve their lives. They want to accomplish their dreams. And it's very satisfying after a year and a half for me to be able to say, 18 months ago, this was your dream. And now I'm reading it to you, and you're closer to accomplishing it. And it's very satisfying to see them on their way. Yeah.
I think I agree with you. And the only thing I could say is, from an instructor standpoint, that was how I started my career. I was a flight instructor, and it was the biggest payoff to just know that you had impacted somebody's life in such a way. And like you say, to see them having this movement towards what they were dreaming of their life, and just knowing that you were a part of that and you were an influence, and you were, of course, as a teacher yourself, you're a big piece of that story in somebody's life. I think it's worth more than any money is concerned.
It's definitely great to see. Yeah.
Excellent, Jeremy. Well, the last thing I wanted to do is just open up the floor to you. Basically, if there's anything else you could think of that you would want to tell somebody about this career track, or anything else you could think of to make mention.
Well, I was looking at Aviation Week yesterday, and it's just amazing what's happening with current events and COVID-19. And every article is how COVID-19 is affecting the industry. But I just really want to encourage someone who still wants to do this to still pursue it. We'll eventually get through this, and there's still opportunities. For example, if they want to do aviation maintenance, the FAA has approved the theory part of maintenance, so the lectures and the bookwork, to go online, which is in a broader scope. So more hours are going online, which is a big step for the FAA. So we still have that opportunity in this time for someone who wants to come into maintenance. However, now industry, and then specifically aviation maintenance instruction, is adjusting to accommodate to get through this strange time.
Yeah, it's remarkable, like the impact that this whole thing has had, of course, and it's, I'm with you 100% though, and there's a, handful of videos that I've shot already around the site here is just trying to deliver that same message to people, that it's like, hey, this is a chapter in time. It's very bad right now, but circling back to the whole business about if this is your passion and if this is truly something you love, like, you have to stick with it, and we're going to get through this, and there's going to be opportunities and brighter days and all this kind of stuff. And it's just, but it does take a lot of digging deep, I think, and really knowing yourself and knowing your passions to like have the want to stick it out and to follow through with this. So, I appreciate you saying that. I'm glad you reiterate that message because it's spot on, and it's just the reality of it. So, anyways. All right, Jeremy. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show here. I really appreciate it. I was going to ask you one more question, and it's escaped me right now, but maybe we can talk later. So.
All right,
Jeremy. We'll chat again soon. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Have a great day. Bye.
All right. Bye.